series for local chamber partners, presidents and chamber executives. I'm thrilled to be sitting next to Dr Nigel Palmer, our Senior Policy Manager for Skills and Education, as our special guest speaker for today. Chamber executives and committee members play a pivotal role in driving economic growth and advocating to our local business communities. Therefore, we're committed to providing you with the most relevant updates and resources to support you and your members through regular webinars. A recording of this session will be sent to you on completion, along with all of the copies of the slides and the documentation. You are able to share those with your committee members if you wish. I'd like to welcome 2 new chambers as well to the Alliance program who have recently joined us, the West Ryde Business Chamber and Newtown Business Precinct. A warm welcome to both those chambers, and we look forward to working with you. A reminder, if you have an AGM meeting scheduled coming up, you can reach out and obtain a copy of our Director's Handbook, which is available to all of our Alliance Chamber partners. This Director's Handbook has an amazing resources with templates, guidelines, and will help you stay on top of your governance and compliance. If you need a copy of the Director's Handbook, you can reach out to me directly. My email address will be at the end of the slides. If your committee has also been updated during the AGM process, please reach out and let us know the updated committee members so we can keep our communications and your membership current and up to date. Before I introduce Nigel, a quick reminder that this is designed to be a very interactive session. If you've joined us before, you know that we're very encouraging of you to reach out through our Q&A session, which we'll do after Nigel's presentation. You can log on by going to www.slido and enter the hashtag workforce skills. We will remind you again throughout the presentation, so we really encourage you to put your feedback, your thoughts, or any questions that you want to put forward in this session. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our special guest speaker for today, Dr. His experience in tertiary education, policy research, education, and program development. He has numerous submissions, government inquiries, and has appeared to give evidence before various federal parliamentary committees and published widely on research, education and quality assurance. It's very impressive, Nigel.
Thank you, Lee.
Recent publications include the final report from the State of Skills 2024 Workforce Skills Survey, a comprehensive survey on how New South Wales employers are meeting their skill needs. Please welcome me in joining Dr Nigel Palmer.
Thank you, Lee, for the kind invitation to join you this afternoon.
Thank you for joining us.
That bio is way too long.
But very impressive.
Thank you, very kind. We'll slim it down for next time.
Definitely. Well, we'll add to it because there's a lot more to that bio than just what we read out.
And I've got to say, this webinar is going straight on my resume, so thank you.
Fantastic.
Really
well,
terrific.
we endorse that. So.
Great, thank you, thank you.
Here we go, Nigel. I'll give you the click.
Oh, great, okay. So, shall I launch in?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, very kind. Thanks again for the invitation to talk to you today. The timing was absolutely perfect. I was talking with Lee before this session. We couldn't have planned it better because we've scheduled a session to talk about the Workforce Skills Survey and what we're up to. We are gearing up, it's the theme of my presentation, we're gearing up for the Workforce Skills Survey to run again in 2025, so timing's absolutely perfect.
Fantastic.
So I thought, Lee, I would just share a few slides on the survey, background, findings in 2024, and then we can talk about some interesting things perhaps for 2025.
Perfect, sounds good.
Great, thank you. Well, so a bit of background then. So the Workforce Skills Survey, it's really there to provide insights into the labour market circumstances that employers face across New South Wales. So there are other stakeholders that run skills surveys of various kinds. Most prominent of which, of course, is Jobs and Skills Australia. So they run a big survey and they collect all sorts of data, and they have very detailed reporting on skills and skills needs across Australia. Our survey is distinctive because it's specific to New South Wales employers, obviously, but more importantly, it's specific to the employer perspective on skills needs. And the history behind that is originally, the survey's run 4 times now. Prior to that, when we would run our quarterly business conditions survey, we found that skills was regularly among the top concerns of employers. So I guess this survey as a standalone exercise kind of grew out of the BCS. That was its kind of origins. So we've run it 4 times. When I applied for the job, Lee, they said, one of the things you're going to have to do is run the skills survey, and I was excited. I love surveys, and I'm really happy about it. And so when we ran the survey in 2024, we really had 2 kind of challenges. One was preserving the survey questions that we'd asked before, to preserve that kind of opportunities for longitudinal reporting, that time series reporting, which we'll show some data in a minute on that.
Sure.
The second thing is reviewing the survey to make sure it remains relevant. So we know our members and our networks get a lot of surveys. Everyone talks about survey fatigue. It's hard, right?
It is. There's a lot of surveys out there at the moment, isn't there?
There are a lot of surveys out there, and we always appreciate the responses because, I mean, we're there to be your voice, to be the voice of business across New South Wales, and so we really need those insights. So it's a challenge. You've got to keep those questions that you always ask,
yes,
because you need to be able to say, well, this has gone up 2 points, or this has gone down, or whatever. But it's also good to keep it fresh, to say, well, what are the topical issues that are important? What's on the horizon?
Yeah,
so,
which there are quite a lot of at the moment.
Yes.
Post-COVID.
Quite a lot post-COVID,
yes.
Absolutely. COVID, I mean, the results I'll share with you today really highlight that.
Yes. And
as we get towards the end, really keen to chat about, some new themes we could perhaps work in.
Sounds good.
So these are the data that get us in the paper, basically. So there's like a headline question we ask in that survey. We ask employers, are you having significant difficulty in meeting your skills needs, or you're just unable to fill the roles you've got? And even in 2017, we had a large proportion of employers saying that they were having trouble meeting their skills needs. So this chart shows all of New South Wales, regional New South Wales and Sydney Metro for comparison. Those trends are relatively uniform, and you can see from 2017 we had close to 40% of employers saying having trouble meeting their skills needs. 2019 that went just over 50%. We had that huge number in 2022 post-COVID.
Yeah, massive.
Massive. Over 90% of employers across the state saying they were having difficulty or were just unable to meet their skills needs. So a couple of things. There's obviously COVID-19 and the wake of the pandemic had a massive impact on a range of things, including the labour market.
Yes.
But those numbers were already high pre-pandemic.
Yeah, as you can see, and I'd imagine there's other factors, not just that fold into this, like cash flow, all sorts of different pressures that SMEs experience that contribute to this as well.
Absolutely, and that's a big part of the survey. We do like to dig deeper. We do like to make that point that it's not just a simple supply-demand equation, right?
No, that's right.
Yeah.
There's several factors.
Several factors. So, and again, we always like to do our best to kind of get a sense for employers what those factors are. So they could be labour market challenges. They could be around meeting wage or salary expectations. It could just be a lack of interest in available roles, not getting enough applicants.
Yes.
That does happen. Some sectors they see, and some businesses see a higher degree of turnover than others. So you just got to work harder then to keep at your recruitment. You keep engaging new applicants. You've got a pipeline there. And I always like to point out, surprisingly common, a lot of employers find applicants are being hired by other employers while they're in the recruitment process, so poaching basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of headhunting happening out there.
A lot of headhunting. So, and that, again, that's a sign of a competitive labour market,
yes.
right? So, you're highly prized if you're an eligible candidate. But as you said, Lee, there are other factors there. You've got commercial challenges around business expansion. You've got other constraints like training and development. So sometimes you just don't have access to local training to be able to get that pipeline of people coming through. For some businesses, just the location is a challenge, particularly in regional New South Wales, and other factors come to the fore. You know, access to affordable housing, and like I said, you know, access to training and reskilling opportunities to kind of get you qualified and keep you industry relevant in terms of your skill set.
I think the affordable housing is a really important point to touch on, Nigel, because as we have a lot of chambers who are regionally based, it's also happening in our metro areas as well, right, where we can't get nurses to be appointed. We don't have enough housing, and that's why we started the Housing Now sector with the Business New South Wales as well. So I think, like you said, this information is so important for us to get from the marketplace so we can expand and try and leverage and help out with those sort of scenarios.
Yes, absolutely. And on that issue specifically, the survey gives us an opportunity to reach out and talk directly with a lot of employers across the state. And as part of that, we heard some really interesting stories on what employers are actually doing, how they're coping. There was an aged care facility on the Sapphire Coast that they're a really prominent landlord now in the region, because that was the only way they could find to solve that housing challenge, to just take on the lease themselves.
It's a new opportunity, really.
That's right. And I think we see that a lot in regional New South Wales in particular. There's a lot of innovation out there in terms of how you respond to these challenges.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in terms of impact, I think it's always important to tell the story of how those skills shortages are impacting on individual businesses. By far the biggest one is impact on existing staff in terms of workload. And we heard a lot of stories about business owners and business managers doing the work themselves because they just can't get the people. And you know, they refer to being back on the tools. There's a lot of people back on the tools out there because they just can't get the people they need.
Yeah, that's true.
Other impacts of the skill shortage include, you know, outsourcing, other ways of getting staff. If you're reliant on outsourcing or casual staff, your labour costs go up. That squeezes your margins, and so it kind of builds into this general pressure on your business. If you've got shrinking margins, you can't get the people you need, your labour costs are going up, you're kind of being stretched in all directions.
Absolutely, yes.
Other impacts, we find a lot of businesses are kind of limiting their operations, or they're limiting their service offerings. They may be curtailing investment in R&D, those sorts of things. So I guess there's a general theme of it's not just a simple, you know, supply-demand challenge. It actually creates a lot of pressure on a business when you can't meet your skills needs.
For sure.
I mentioned that innovation thing before, and I think there's a view out there. Sometimes people imagine that employers are just kind of waiting for someone else to solve the problem. They're folding their arms. I mean, our survey really shows that's absolutely not the case. A huge majority of employers actually do what they can in terms of paying conditions. And again, post-pandemic, that's a much more sophisticated conversation these days. So you've got salaries, you know, pay and financial conditions. You've also got flexibility in working arrangements.
Which is huge, right? Because majority of people have had to adapt to that model because that's what we got used to, again, COVID. A lot of people want that flexibility now in their lifestyle and their families and cost of living. So that all accumulates into that.
It absolutely does. And a lot of employers, we found particularly in the manufacturing sector, they have a very sophisticated notion of what they call the kind of value proposition for employees.
Yes.
And they build in that flexibility. So the conversations they're having when they're trying to recruit are very much, you know, they're not just about, obviously, you know, people looking for a good rate of pay.
Yes.
Right, fine. But it's a holistic proposition. What kind of flexibility are you going to get from this employer as opposed to that? What other kind of supports are you going to get? So I think it's evolved into quite a sophisticated conversation around, you know, the proposition to to the job seeker from the employer.
And I mean, we touched on this point yesterday when you and I were talking. You have those levels of generations now feeding in who have different set of demands, and they have a different set of priorities of what's important to them. So I think as an employer, you have to be a bit flexible and a bit negotiating and be a bit willing to adapt to get the right person.
That's exactly right. And it is, you're right, it's a dynamic environment because on the one hand, you can aim to be competitive.
Yes.
Say, well, come work with us because we've got more flexible working arrangements, but then your competitors are very quickly going to catch up. So, and then, you know, the job seeker's like, well, hang on a sec.
I've got all these offers on the table.
So the expectations increase as well. So,
yes.
But look, at the end of the day, I think it is still a compelling way of thinking of recruitment, and that extends to training and development. So we found a lot of employers are investing in training, both external and internal. We're kind of seeing an uptick on investment in internal training.
Yes.
I think that's a combination of things, including access to technology and outsourcing expertise for that kind of thing.
Yes, so online would definitely contribute to that, right?
Exactly right, exactly right. It'd be interesting for us to find out, you know, how much of that is more kind of standard workplace orientation type staff development, and how much of it is task specific or domain specific training.
Yeah.
We've also got vendors like we've got out here at Business New South Wales, we've got LinkedIn Learning as a resource.
Yes, so, absolutely. So there's a lot more of those sort of platforms coming through, and you've got your TAFE now that have got a lot more online courses available. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really great actually. There's increasing diversity in terms of training offerings. That's just another area where employers are investing when they're looking to remain competitive in recruitment. These other areas, you know, employing young people and recent graduates, that's always been an important priority for employers, whether it's apprentices and trainees, whether it's people aged under 24, recent graduates, or just preserving entry-level roles. That entry-level roles one is interesting, so I'm not going to dwell on AI, but it's obviously a hot topic at the moment.
Yes, very hot.
One of the things that people are saying or anticipating is that employers may be taking on fewer entry-level roles in some fields where those roles could be done partly or wholly using AI.
Yes.
I'm interested to see. I think
the jury's out.
I think the jury's out. I think we need to see it in the data to be more confident. I mean, it's plausible, but I think it undersells actually the value of entry-level roles. I think if you talk to employers, those entry-level roles, particularly in small firms, they wear a lot of hats.
Yes, especially in small businesses where you're not doing just the one role, you're doing multiple roles to keep that business dynamic and moving forward.
Exactly. And I think there's an expectation, you know, rightly or wrongly, that if you're bringing younger people into those entry-level roles, they're going to help you with these emerging technologies.
Yes,
right?
That's right.
So there's an interesting dynamic there. So let's wait and see. So I guess, you know, a bit of a summary then. So what did we find in 2024? We certainly found there was an appetite for innovation among employers in terms of meeting their skills needs. We heard stories of a lot of practical strategies around widening participation. A big factor there was embracing age diversity.
Yes.
So we talked about taking on and giving opportunities to younger people. That extended to older people, bringing people back into the workforce, retirees, giving them more opportunities. So we heard some really great stories about that, and supporting folks to have opportunities that aligned with their circumstances to work and make a contribution. It's really terrific.
Yeah.
Skilled migration, a lot of employers, about half of the people that responded to our 2024 survey were engaging one way or another with Australia's skilled migration system.
Yes.
I think that could be an interesting topic for future discussion.
Very interesting. We will definitely have that one.
And yeah, other areas, I'll conclude on skills gaps. I'll just pause to say that, you know, apprentices and trainees are obviously a critical part of the labour market and skills equation. There's a whole separate conversation around that, but clearly they were highly valued by the employers that responded to our survey, and there's a lot of interest, particularly at the moment, following the review of the inquiry into Australia's apprenticeship incentive system.
That's
Get that right? It's a mouthful.
very good.
I think that's brought a lot of energy and a lot of attention into opportunities for improving the way we support apprentices and trainees.
Yes.
How we attract them to do apprenticeships and traineeships, and opportunities for identifying examples of good practice in the way we do that. So, again, maybe a topic for future discussions.
Oh, lots of future topics here.
But I'll come back to this skills gap question because something that Lee and I were talking about in preparing for this webinar. So all right, so what are we talking about here? So we asked employers around their skills needs, and a lot of employers saying, well, we're struggling to meet those needs. Skills shortages or skills needs kind of divide up into broadly two kinds of things. The availability of skills, so you do kind of get into your labour market supply demand conversations there. You know, can I get the people? Are they available?
Yes.
You know, how do I recruit them and keep them, etc. The other side of the equation is the relevance of those skills. So you hire someone, they may have a qualification that you're looking for. How relevant are the capabilities they're bringing to the role to your workplace needs? Shouldn't be a surprise, perhaps the top two are relevant industry experience. So have you done the work before?
Yes.
It's kind of a good predictor that you're going to be able to do the work again.
A good guide.
Yeah, right. It's not crazy. It's a good guide. And obviously appropriate qualifications, certification or registration, especially in fields that require, you know, formal registration to be able to be on the building site or be in the lab or whatever the work environment requires, right? So perhaps no surprise there. The third one, though, may be a little surprising, maybe not. General workplace capabilities. These are highly prized by employers. So by general workplace capabilities, we really mean the basics of navigating the workplace. Can you navigate the workplace and your job role reliably and safely? Yes. The basics, you know, highly prized by employers. Then we kind of get into what a lot of people refer to as soft skills. So we've got interpersonal skills, leadership, teamwork, written communication, quantitative skills, numeracy. Right? So they were kind of a mid-level importance in terms of skills gaps. So again, we asked, you know, employers, what are you missing? What gaps need to be filled in terms of the relevance of those capabilities? They rated those a little lower than your qualifications and experience. Yeah. Then finally, we came to digital. So there's a lot of interest at the moment around digital capabilities. Business New South Wales is a partner on the New South Wales Digital Skills and Workforce Compact.
Another long one.
Had that ready to go. And so, there's a lot of interest and energy around digital capabilities, particularly here in New South Wales, because there's just a lot of attention on it at the moment. So we put a question in last year on digital capabilities, and we split it up into three: advanced technical skills, basic digital capabilities, and advanced digital capabilities. So those three really divide up into kind of those really niche domain-specific technical capabilities, very high-end. Yeah. They were greatly valued. Then you've got your basic, more entry-level or general expectations around digital capabilities and advanced. A surprising finding, Lee, was that in terms of skills gaps, at least, they rated those last two relatively low.
I was going to say they're quite low, and I think it's perception, like we were saying yesterday. A lot of businesses would think, well, I'm not a tech type business, so that wouldn't apply to me. But as we were saying, every business would have some aspect of digital within their business, whether it be an online shop, their website, the CRM system, the programs they use. So there would be some aspect of having to have those digital skills.
Absolutely. And I think it's a really interesting line there to think, well, through that lens, every business is potentially a digital business in one way or another. We talk about, in the compact, we use the hairdressing example.
Exactly.
Well, you're cutting hair is not necessarily a digital industry. Well, you still got a CRM, you still got inventory,
yes.
you've got appointments, right?
Social media,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
marketing, there's all sorts of things that come into play.
So I think it'd be really interesting in the 2025 survey to unpack that a little more and I think maybe tell a more sophisticated story around your regular business
Yes.
and those digital capabilities.
Yes.
Because it definitely feeds into then the skills needs question.
Exactly. And the changes that are coming, like you said, with the AI and all these digital changes that are coming at business at a rapid rate.
Absolutely. Yes. The horse is out of the gate when it comes to AI. Absolutely. So I guess, so Lee, and we kind of schemed up these questions, right? So this is kind of a way of closing out the presentation part.
Yes.
So the 2025 Workforce Skills Survey we look forward to launching in August.
Great.
There's a giant QR code on the slides here, and I've figured out that if you're a QR code user and you snap that QR code, it will take you right now, if you want to check it out, to a live trial version of the 2025 survey.
Oh, an exclusive.
An exclusive just for this group and a small number of other people.
Fantastic. We love an exclusive here at the webinar, so that's fantastic.
And so folks, if you're interested, you can just click on that or, zap the...
Click the code.
Click the code. There's a live trial version of that survey. You can provide feedback in the survey if you think, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? So we can
fantastic.
Get some tips. But the things I'm particularly interested in learning more about is, especially from the audience today, is does it all make sense? So from the data that I've shared, does it kind of gel with a bit of a reality check? Are we asking the right questions?
Yes.
Are we telling the right stories? It's always good to check in on that.
Absolutely. And that relevance point that you said at the beginning, is it relevant?
It needs to be relevant.
Yep.
Yeah, otherwise people just, and rightly, won't fill it out. So,
yes.
It's on us to make sure it's relevant. Anything you think that's important that we're missing, is there scope for digging deeper on some of these things? I'm interested in the skills gap stuff, but there might be other things.
Yeah, definitely.
Interested to learn more about that. And then finally, we've got a bit of a call out here. So we are looking at developing the skills component of the survey. We're very interested in digital capabilities and this idea that every business is potentially a digital business.
Yeah.
So it'd be great to get your input on what you think is going on with our data here and what you think we should be asking around digital capabilities.
Absolutely. Well, I'd also encourage any of the chambers online today or when they're watching the recording, if you haven't looked at the State of Skills report from 2024 that Nigel did last year, it's an amazing read. It's very comprehensive and I think it'll give you a really good understanding of the survey and the importance of it. And I think given that we have over 200 local chambers aligned with us across New South Wales, so I'd imagine, Nigel, if you had some of these chambers that have members with case studies that you could reach out to or leverage that want to tell sides of skill shortage problems or anything like that, they could reach out to you?
That would be absolutely gold. Email address is on the slide. Thank you so much. Yes, that would be amazing. And in particular, there's a bit of a call out today. We are looking to talk to any businesses that are perhaps really struggling to meet their digital skills needs specifically.
Okay.
We've got an opportunity to really unpack that quite a bit. And if we could find some employers that are happy to share their story with us on those issues, that would be really terrific.
Yeah, fantastic. We'll share that as well through our regular newsletter comms as well, and we'll be sharing the link as well to all the chambers. I wanted to touch base on a couple of things that you mentioned, if that's okay, on your presentation. So what areas or what sectors do you see suffering the biggest skill shortages at the moment?
Yes, no, great question. There's a lot of energy at the moment going into specific sectors, housing and construction, aged care, probably the two most prominent ones, advanced manufacturing or manufacturing broadly, and hospitality. But I would say if you dig deeper, you can see examples across all industries. So, we've got every kind of business, from accounting firms through to design industry, through to cinema production. So it's actually really broad.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you look at, you know, and Sherman Jan is the expert on these things, but if you look at the unemployment rate and the interaction between critical skill shortages and the overall unemployment rate, so the labour market is easing overall. So in some areas you wouldn't necessarily say there's a critical skills need.
Yes.
But in some pockets it doesn't seem to be shifting.
Okay.
So in some industries it's very difficult to move the needle. I know I've got a conversation tomorrow on the aged care industry.
Yes.
That really stands out as one where it's
sure.
very difficult to move.
And a lot of regulations and red tape, all of those factors, as we were saying. So
Yes, correct, and they will have an impact.
Yeah. And again, with the apprentices and trainees, we're obviously going in towards the end of year, and we're going to see a lot of kids leaving school in Year 10. I've got a daughter who's in Year 10 and has no idea what she wants to do. How will that impact these kids going out looking for work if, one, they don't have the skill set, and two, that nobody's really looking to take them on at the moment?
Yes. Yeah, it's tricky. Again, the interesting thing about skills, you're often working with a complex equation. So while on the one hand, I think younger people are starting to cotton on to the fact that their lifetime earning potential, to use the technical term,
Yes.
is actually not too shabby if you go the apprenticeship and traineeship pathway.
Yes.
So I think there is a bit of a pivot in terms of how those opportunities look from a young person's perspective or a job seeker's perspective, or when you're looking to navigate your pathway to education or even retraining. And I think there's also, to put it diplomatically, maybe a softening in some areas of enthusiasm for university pathways. There's these kind of stories of people say, well, I've invested all this time, energy, and now debt into a qualification, and it's not leading.
What do I do with it?
What do I do? Right? And so it's not to say, you know, it's necessarily black and white, and you should really look at the best pathway to make the most of your skills and abilities. That's always the golden rule. But yes, when you see apprenticeship numbers really tanking when they turn the incentives off, that has a dramatic impact on the number of opportunities that are out there. So you've kind of got supply and demand again.
It always comes into play, and it's that bottom line that always helps, you know, determine those decisions as well. So
exactly, especially for smaller enterprises, if your margins are increasingly narrow and you're risk averse around the commitments that you're prepared to commit to, then maybe apprenticeships or traineeships become more of a marginal concern.
Yes.
Because you're just a bit more careful. Having said that, I mean, group training organisations are a really amazing resource for small and medium employers.
For sure.
They take on a lot of the risk, they sort out a lot of the paperwork in terms of taking on apprentices and trainees.
Yes, so, there's a lot of it. I was also going to say to you as well, because I think there's a lot of untapped resources right out in the market that people aren't aware of or don't have access to. And I mean, there's a lot of information. I think the media has painted quite a scary situation around the cost of living and everything that's going on at the moment. I mean, we're all living it, obviously, but what can employers do with education and training to try and help with those skills? Like you were saying, sometimes they're looking for those niche skills or they're looking for that specific skills. What can they do to try and attract those people or, you know, make it a bit more appealing, I suppose? Yeah,
that's a great question. I think the simple answer, and one we heard from quite a few employers, is that they're quite openly baking in learning opportunities as part of the recruitment conversation.
Yes.
To say, you know, this idea of this holistic value proposition, to say, well, here's your pay and conditions, here's your workplace flexibility, and here is some, you know, continuous development training opportunities, or even perhaps, you know, a commitment to have pathways conversations to say, well, we'll start you here.
Yes.
And we'll work towards getting you there or wherever you want to go.
Progressing you through, yes.
Correct, yeah. And I think, for a lot of employers, again, I think we're really impressed through the survey to hear some really sophisticated stories around how employers are doing that.
Yeah, I think those case studies are so important, because I think when people see that somebody else is actually going through this, it's not just me or it's not just my industry, I think that really hits home and regulates, especially with the chamber members, I know, because majority of the members are SMEs. So I think those case studies are really, really important. And like we were saying, I know everybody has survey fatigue, but I really think this is one of the most important surveys that we could get out there to get that intel. Like we can't lobby, we can't advocate if we don't have that feedback and we don't have that intel coming in regularly. So we had that conversation as well yesterday.
No, absolutely. But thank you, Lee. Absolutely. I mean, that's very kind, to talk about our survey in such favourable terms, but it's actually true. Yeah. It has, the 2024 survey did have a big impact. And as Maurice, our media person, says, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Because the data is so useful. It helps us tell so many stories about improvements that could be made.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Nigel. That was a really great overview, and I know that our chamber network will get behind you with this. I'm sure they'll be very excited to help you leverage this out to their members. So we will pop Nigel's details, as we said, at the end of the slides, so you can reach out directly to Nigel. Are you ready for some questions and answers from our audience?
Have we got some questions?
I hope we've got some questions. So what we can do is, if you want to put something forward to us, to ask us anything or provide us some feedback, it's www.slido, and it is #workforceskills is the hashtag, if you want to pop something forward. So I was just going to ask you another question, just hot off the cuff. Chambers are always looking for speakers for chamber breakfast or chamber functions, and this is the kind of content they want to get out to their members. Is this something down the track that if we have certain hot topics that we're finding, we can help with that?
Absolutely, and I'm always keen for a field trip, Lee. So especially if breakfast is involved or a lunch. But yeah, no, seriously, it's actually terrific once. Because as we move into Q4, once the survey's out, we've got some results, it's actually really great to then go out and kind of roadshow that a bit and say, well, this is what the survey's telling us. Does that gel with your experience? So yeah, it would be terrific to be able to do that.
Perfect. So one question we've got from our audience is, how many respondents did you have to the survey last year?
We were anticipating this question.
We were anticipating that question.
So we got 425 responses. And you might think, well, out of a member base of close to 50,000, we could, do better in percentage terms. But that's a solid performance. Other industry orgs get similar numbers around their surveys.
Yes.
But I think this time, with the weight of the local chamber alliance behind us, maybe we could get to over 1,000. That would be really terrific.
Fantastic. And is there some sort of information kit we could put together for the chambers so they could share this out on social media platforms or get it through Facebook sort of thing to get out to their members?
Yes, that's a great point. I mean, we just use our standard member EDMs, but it would be great to if there's a little package we can bundle up as a bit of a push. That would be really terrific.
Fantastic. Well, again, thanks so much, Nigel, for coming along today. I think, like you said, there is just so much leverage of different topics we could go, even like skills migration, the AI. I think there's a lot of different topics we could cover over this. But we're very excited to see the survey launched for August. So thank you again for joining us. That is a wrap for us for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back in September with our next webinar, and we look forward to seeing you then. Thanks, everyone.